Hello everyone and welcome to the new gaming podcast, LudoLingo. We've got 5 people on today, including myself, Jesse, you can call me, or I go by Double Guns on the PS3 and the YouTube and anything on the internet really. We also got Sam.
Why, hello everyone.
And Owen.
Hi, my name is Owen.
And Michael.
Hi.
And Travis.
Hi, and I go by Train.
Or Train. Not sure what I'm going to call you on here. Should I just call you Train? Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay. Alright, so we've got a pretty interesting topic to talk about this time. We're going to start off with basically why the principal emotion so many games try to evoke is fun, and why games don't need to be fun to be good. You know, you got to read it all emotionally like that. So Sam came up with this yesterday, and he seems to want to talk about it, so we decided we would.
Passionate about it, Sam.
Passionate?
Okay.
All right.
No, I've got my ideas on it. Like, when games started out, developers didn't have the tools to evoke emotion or anything like that, and the best they could do was simulate like the game experiences they had at the time. So, like simple games with balls or board games or anything like that. So that's what they did, and they created really simplistic games like Pong. And as games develop, we're starting to see, well, this this sounds like this is a podcast starting in like the 90s, like new technology, but no, like as games have evolved, we've gotten more and more tools like voice acting and huge amounts of space on discs to create a variety of experiences with music and things like that. But people still look to games as that like playing pastime. That's why you don't do games or watch games or things like that. You play games. So like it's even implicit in the name that you're trying to have fun.
So are you saying it's a bad thing?
A bad thing that they're considered to be purely for fun? Yeah, definitely. It's really limiting. When a new game comes out and people say like, well, yeah, that's cool, but is it fun? Like that's a discredit to the game when it's just it's really limiting as an artistic medium if you can only like portray one emotion or something like that or evoke one emotion.
All right. Makes sense.
It's kind of like when you were talking to me before about my persuasive speech I have going on. We're talking about how video games are the ultimate medium of entertainment and storytelling. Like what I was talking about is like movies and books are basically pure entertainment. That's all there is. I mean, you don't like toss a book around and excited with anything. You just read it and then it tells you what's going on. In a movie, you sit there, you watch the hero do whatever. But in a game, you're the one who's the hero. You sit there, you choose to pull a lever or jump on the Goomba or go wherever. You make the choices in the game. You're the hero. You save the world, not some guy who's doing it. You don't watch him do that. You're the one who controls it.
Again, and that definitely makes it more immersive because you have to focus part of your attention on playing the game itself and less on just like taking it in. And so being an active participant like really draws you into the world usually. And that's one thing games have to their credit. They also have like that interactivity, which like not many mediums, like you have what's it called, like choose your own adventure books or things like that, but or board games or anything, but games really have like a way to engage with the world that's a part of, and a lot of games don't take advantage of that. We're kind of drifting off of topic here.
Well, okay, well, is the problem, I guess, that you're saying is that like the mainstream or the the bigger games are all going for fun, while like the indie games are all maybe going for story? Like, are you?
Well, indie games go for fun a lot too.
Yeah.
I'd say it's a fairly even divide, and actually, it's almost more as if like AAA games are trying to be the blockbuster movie experience or anything like that, instead of something interactive and like enjoyable.
But that's
on a
still
level.
Fun.
Yeah, it is fun, but it's. I'm not sure. There's got to be a distinction to be made, but I can't find it. But with indie games, yeah, it's basically the same thing. Like there are a lot of indie games that focus on fun and just harkening back to the old retro days of Metroidvanias and jumping up and down and shooting things, which isn't a bad thing. Yeah. And it's not a bad thing that a lot of games go for fun. It's just that when it's all that people expect of games, like instead of eliciting a reaction, like an emotional reaction,
like
or
fear?
engage, fear maybe. That's an excellent one. Or engaging a person intellectually, which is something games are kind of lacking in compared to other mediums. like people just look to it as like, oh, I just want to jump in and have fun and enjoy myself, and it's just a cheap throwaway experience. And when you apply that label to all games, then you really end up tossing out some of the cream of the crop, I guess as the saying would go. Like if you excluded The Walking Dead, for example, because like, oh, there's barely any gameplay and it's not fun or anything like that, you'd miss a fantastic game.
Yeah. See, this is where I get kind of lost in this topic, because I agree, but I also, when I play, okay, everybody's going to go crazy, but when I play Journey,
Bullshit.
the reason I don't like it is because it's not fun. And
Well,
I'm like the only person that thinks that, because nobody plays it. You're not supposed to play it to have fun. But it's just like, since I've been playing games for so long, there's not really anything else that I'm looking for in a game other than to have fun.
well, again, it's not an issue so much with the developer side as it is with the consumer's side. Not like pointing fingers or anything, but when people come to expect that kind of thing, then it's like trying to read a book and saying that you don't want to read it and it's bad because there aren't any pictures in it. I mean, when you go into something expecting one thing and the thing provides another, that's not the other thing's fault. It's just your fault for not understanding what it supplies.
Yeah, I know. I'm not like saying Journey's bad. I mean, I could say that jokingly. I've probably said it many times. It's just not something that I want to play.
Exactly.
Because,
it's not what you look for in games, right?
So you're saying that maybe more people should start to look for other things instead of everything just being about fun?
Well,
You
that's
think
up
it's
to
the
them.
people's fault, or what? Like,
No. I'm not like pointing blame or anything, but like you can like whatever you want. Nobody wants to force anyone to like, oh, you need to watch movies to have an enlightening experience. You need to watch like Citizen Kane or something like that, or 12 Angry Men instead of The Avengers, because that's just forcing somebody to do something they don't want to do. But the issue is with trying to apply a universal label to all games, and that goes for a lot of things. But in games in particular, I found that when people try to expect one thing from a game and get a different thing out of it, then they'll just ridicule it or say something. I don't know.
So, when I think about this topic, I think of one game, well, a few games, but one game stands out as a game that doesn't just try to let you have fun, but I guess if somebody were to pick it up that's just looking for fun, they could still have fun. Spec Ops: The Line, it completely, it gets different emotions from you. It's not just trying to let you have fun, obviously. It's trying to make...
No spoilers.
No
And
spoilers?
we shouldn't try to influence people's perception of the game. But yeah, it's... I've heard it said that... and I thought that the gameplay was more than adequate. I'm not
really
particularly critical of like when a game doesn't reinvent the wheel. It's a pretty standard third-person shooter, played a lot like Uncharted, except with slightly sloppier cover mechanics. But that's not game-breaking in any sense, and that's not going to detract from the experience. It's just like it's there.
Michael, and what?
I think a game that goes great with this would be Heavy Rain, because whenever I try to explain Heavy Rain to someone, all I can ever talk about is it's a game where you press buttons. Because you don't ever... I mean, in Walking Dead, there are sequences where you like aim a gun and you have to shoot and stuff like that. But in Heavy Rain, there's not stuff like that. I mean, it's all just you hold down buttons in different combinations, and then you watch it happen. It's literally like watching a movie, but you have a little bit of control over it, and you control the story as it goes and make lots of choices. But it's just really immersive. I mean, I find it incredibly fun. I mean, it's not like you do a lot. You walk around, and that's about the gist of your control over the character. But, I mean, you can't like make him jump out a window or randomly murder someone. It's just...
a few things that people often like say that games like Heavy Rain or The Walking Dead that are less focused on quote unquote gameplay and more focused on directing choices and emotional appeal and things like that, they try and discredit them as games, saying, oh, they're not games, they're just visual novels where you click a button and you get to experience something. But for one, like the whole is a visual novel a game like debate is another topic entirely, but the principle, like the founding tenet of, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but the main tenet or activity, like they present a world and you alter it according to your will, and that's what appeals to it for most people. And that's by definition like, well, a lot of games, like, it's just a tunnel of content that you move through, and you like perform goals and stuff like that. And that's, people will say, oh, those are games, but that's barely interactive. Whereas with a game like Heavy Rain or The Walking Dead, you control what goes on in the universe. You control people's different perceptions of you and what you say and what your character says, and that's just as
What?
He cut off.
He did.
This is where one of you picks up the conversation.
Well, no,
Maybe Michael or
your sentence like
Owen?
died out halfway through. It sounded like, yeah, Michael and Owen aren't even saying anything.
Wait, what did I finish saying? My
I don't know. You're like lagging now. That's wonderful.
oh man.
Oh man, that's
Like
right.
every choice you make carries on through the rest of the game. Like in Heavy Rain, if you make one little choice in the very beginning, you could see the results of that at the very end of the game, and it could be massive.
That's extremely interactive. So, like, that would be a great topic for another episode, like whether games like that qualify as games and what makes a game and stuff like that. I think, just to touch on it briefly, that limiting games, again, and like saying they can only be fun or they can only be games with, like, quote-unquote gameplay where you jump up and down and complete different objectives and things like that instead of just talking to someone. Really, really limiting, because then that type of game can't be made because publishers are going to want to avoid that. It's not a game.
Michael, you have nothing to say?
Not really. Like, I feel that with games, they can be both. Like, there's many games that it's not one or the other, that they can be both. They can have, like, an emotional story that really involves the player, as well as having, like, a fun amount of gameplay. I would say, like, Kingdom Hearts would be the most, because it's like it has the Japanese game, but it's more of not just turn-based. Like, it's an actual fun game to play, as well as having a really deep story. But they're never really, like, yes, there is some, like Heavy Rain, I would feel it's not really that fun to play. And there's some that are one or the other, but there are many games that are, like, it doesn't have to be one or the other, it can be both. So.
Then there's... What?
No, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, then there's obviously games that are just completely meant for mindless fun, which is usually what all the generic shooters are about, which is get a lot of flack for exactly that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about, because like, that's why I wanted to clarify about what we're talking about right now. Like, are you trying to say that games should or shouldn't just be about the fun? Like, you want them all to be equalized, like have a good story, but also be fun at the same time? Or you just like want each game to have their own thing?
I don't know. I guess what he was really saying was that games that aren't about fun should be able to rise to the spotlight like other games that are about fun. It doesn't need to just be about fun anymore.
I don't think like it's just about fun anymore. Like, I think nowadays, at least, people can appreciate games that like Journey now, like, it's
really
sold
depends
very
who you
well
talk to.
and stuff. So
All right, I'm back. Sorry, my internet died. Continue.
Yeah, we were continuing somehow.
We were just sitting here silently waiting for you to come back.
Sam, I really
You're
enjoy that
talking.
when you came back, your bird decided to talk
Yeah,
to you.
that's great.
It's delightful.
He wanted to put his input in.
So, like, let me get this straight. So, what we're talking about here is like an arcadey experience like Call of Duty versus like a deep, enriching experience like Heavy Rain or something like that.
Good word.
kind of.
Those are like the two opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah.
I know. I went pretty far.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm fine with both. I really have
good.
no opinion on this.
That's great.
The thing is, like Call of Duty, it's always what's popular. I mean, I agree that I wish like games like Heavy Rain or other games that are really immersive and have an amazing story would get more popularity and, would be out there, so that way, we can get more stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is, that's not what people like. I mean, most people, especially as kids, like as he said in the beginning, games when they first came out didn't have a lot of immersive story. I mean, Mario just kind of hopped around and saved the princess. It's not like there was any backstory or anything. He was just there and you do it.
Hey, man, I felt emotional attachment.
No, I'm sure you did. But like what drew us in as kids is it was just fun, and that's what happened. But as games evolve, it becomes easier and easier to tell these stories. But the thing that basically hooks someone in the first place is the fun, and then that's where it starts crossing the line in between art and just a game, because I mean the definition of a game really is just like having fun. Because
yeah, I think that's going to become games like that play on emotional value and have fantastic stories and are focused less on gameplay are going to be becoming a bit more popular soon. And actually, it was I had like a different.
I think.
Like, let me just go off on a tangent here for a sec.
Okay.
Sorry, the AAA games industry has grown to this huge beast with like massive marketing and what's it called, budgets, and like huge amounts of money spent and huge amounts of money taken in, but they don't actually have like a too big of a profit margin because they spend all that money. They have to like make a huge blockbuster to recoup all those expenses. But we see indie games all the time with like $1,000 budgets, or some guy working out of his basement or something and coding a game that become like huge successes. And I think that the major games publishers are looking into that. I mean, looking at that and seeing like because sorry, I'm getting off track here. Indie games that make it big have a tiny budget and huge sales, and that equates to a massive like
profit
return on your investments. Yeah, and so I think if sorry, I'm so inarticulate. If we don't see like AAA games with indie budgets, which would be really cool to have AAA values with indie budgets and like art style and passion. But if we don't see that, we'll at least see a bit more like middle ground games with smaller budgets and therefore less risk and more innovation.
I feel like that's been going away though.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Like
the middle ground games have been going away. Like THQ going down, all they made were the games that were right in the middle.
Yeah, nowadays it's small indie games and it's
AAA.
multi-million-dollar AAA. Like the middle, like AA or whatever they would call it, pretty much has like disappeared. There's only like nowadays there's not that anymore because
I wouldn't be so sure. There are plenty of like smaller. You hear about indie stuff and AAA stuff all the time, but there are still tons of like middle of the ground games.
Yeah, like I wouldn't call
it
or Dead Island or even Persona like AAA. It's I mean,
yeah, exactly.
You don't see commercials for them every day and stuff like that.
Yeah, but Homefront and Darksiders are gone now, or at least THQ is.
Doesn't mean that the whole middle ground is this.
No, I mean like we're not saying that they're completely
that a couple of big things collapsed.
They are falling apart because like games nowadays, even like Square Enix had that thing a couple weeks ago about how the sales for Sleeping Dogs, which is brand new IP, late in the generation, sold like 1.5 million, and that was like
Same
not
thing
good
with
enough.
Tomb Raider selling like 4 million.
But that was like a AAA game. I'm pretty sure those are AAA games. They've got huge production values and budgets.
I think Tomb Raider is.
The fact that they're not selling well is just evidence that the AAA business model isn't very good. And especially with new developments like Kickstarter, which I've probably said before is like one of the biggest, if not the biggest, economic developments of this like century, decade, whatever you want to say. Like that's, yeah, like it's putting out budgets that are way, way beyond the scope of an ordinary indie team, but are still way, way underneath the scope of a AAA development team. And so we're going to start to see that middle ground again. And on top of that, a lot more innovation because consumers can pick out the ideas that they find interesting and fund them directly instead of having to wait for a publisher to greenlight them.
One thing I thought about when you were talking about like mixing AAA with indie budgets and stuff like that, it made me thinking like you almost wish that a AAA developer would have the mindset of an indie developer, because when you're an indie, like you said, you don't have this limitless or almost limitless budget of money. You can't cut corners. You have to make sure everything is perfect. Otherwise, people will pay full price for one of your games.
Yeah.
Then there's no payoff because they'll hate it and then they'll never buy your game again. So you have to like work out every detail to make it perfect. And so that's why these games always flourish as these amazing things. Meanwhile, games like Call of Duty, which have these massive budgets, they still look average because they know people are going to buy it. It's just out there. They can advertise it all they want, and the name's already there. You know, they at this point
Well,
they
it's
don't.
also because like the AAA, they can't take like indie developers and stuff can afford to take a more risk on like some brand new innovation because
Yeah.
like the loss is quite small. With AAA, you don't normally see as much innovation because it's like millions and millions of dollars on the line. Like THQ, they had a couple slip ups with stuff that didn't go so well. Like U-Draw was one of the big things that tanked for them and made them go under. And like with that much loss, they can't afford to take that big of a risk because if it doesn't pay out, then
I'd have to assume PlayStation isn't doing so well with the Move either. I don't know about Kinect. Kinect's probably doing.
It doesn't
well.
seem well. Do they have like besides the wand thing? Obviously, do they have like a camera or something that they use?
Yeah.
I don't know exactly
Yeah.
how
It's
the Move works.
PlayStation Eye.
Well, it doesn't seem like it'd be too much of a like
No,
development.
but they don't know who they're marketing. That's a completely different topic of PlayStation marketing. That's just sad, but I don't think we need to get into that.
Yeah,
right now.
but
oh my gosh!
we're drifting off topic.
Yeah.
We can reserve what makes indie development so special and the movement and stuff like that, and different things for a future topic.
Like 10 minutes ago, I was going to mention something. I can't
topics.
remember exactly what I was going to say, but it had something to do with multiplayer, the rise of online multiplayer taking over everyone's like thoughts, and that's all anybody wants to play anymore. And that was like a reason for the decline of, or a reason that games that aren't fun aren't made for fun like aren't rising, because everyone just wants to play multiplayer games and have like social interaction and stuff. And
There you go.
well, I don't know. I was just gonna say that doesn't really correlate with. I mean, that does correlate with having just plain fun, and doesn't support like emotional stories and stuff.
Yeah, I agree completely.
That's
I remember when I was a kid and was playing smaller games, there was no multiplayer. I mean, I think the very first split screen or like multiplayer game I ever played was GoldenEye.
Banjo.
And, yeah, that's always talked about as one of the biggest multiplayer games. But it's not like you could just connect online. You had to go to your friend's house and play together. So it was still like a fun experience together because it's just you and a couple close friends. But I mean, I remember I'd invite friends over and we'd take turns playing Zelda. Like if I died, we'd pass the controller on the next person, and we'd have fun sharing in a story, and it'd all be good. And it was just a great experience altogether. Meanwhile, now you don't even have to leave your house. You can just log into the PSN or Xbox Live or Steam or anything and just play with a headset and play with complete strangers, which I also think has brought a lot of gamers together, but it's also put a wall between us in a way. It's great.
I think
There's millions of people that only do that.
Yeah, like the people, like the jocks and stuff like that, who only play Call of Duty, which isn't a bad thing. I mean,
It supports the.
it's their own, you know. Yeah, it supports the gamer economy and everything. But
I think the explosion of multiplayer gaming was a result of how accessible it's become. Like, if you think about it, the rise of multiplayer gaming correlated with the very first time that multiplayer anything became accessible, and so it became a huge thing. And the very first, like, the pioneers that capitalized on that, like Xbox. I mean, sorry, not Xbox. I always confuse the words Xbox and Halo. It's terrible. No, but Halo, Call of Duty, and to a almost greater extent, because they were like bigger. Yeah, Counter-Strike, or what am I trying to think
Team
of?
Fortress.
Team Fortress, yeah, but what is that, like, really old? It's like one of the first. Quake, something like that. Things like that. They became like incredibly popular, and so like, especially with the consoles, like with the rise of the consoles, and people now had an easy and reliable way to get into online gaming. It just became a huge thing, and people say like, oh, it's never going to stop, it's taking over the industry, but it's probably going to start declining, to be honest, because people already know that you can play with all your friends and stuff like that. You can even do that on the iPads and things. So it's going to be less of a clamor for wanting new online games and stuff like that, because we've seen that for a very long time. Or at least it feels like a very long time.
Mm-hmm. All right. That was fun. Okay.
Okay, next topic.
Do you want to move on, or
We'll
does
just
anybody
use the
have anything
awkward
else?
laugh as transition
Next
between every
topic.
topic.
Does anyone have anything else to say? No.
I think I'm good.
Okay. So I do have written down that we could talk about this the zombies fad that's going on, or it might be wearing off, and that's the whole point.
I don't feel like it's. I don't know. Zombies have always been prevalent in games. I've found. Yes, there is more nowadays, but I think it's also just because there's more games nowadays that. Like,
Well, it's
zombies
in
have always-
everything, though. It's not just about the games. I mean, I'd rather just talk about the games, but I mean, it is in everything.
Yeah, it's
Zombies
in
are-
all forms of media.
Yeah, they're just a reskinning, really, of many like typical video game enemies that we know, like the ones that just walk towards you with no self-preservation instinct. They just like when you slap the zombie aesthetic over them, they just become like another thing to shoot at. And so, like, I think what you're talking about is more like zombie bro shooters, like Left 4 Dead or Call of Duty Zombies or something like that. And that's a pretty niche market when you think about it. Like, there seem like a lot of smaller ones, but there haven't been a lot of big like zombie killing games that have come out. Like, what is there? There's
Dead Rising and
Walking
Dead
Dead
Island.
Survival Instinct.
Yeah, but that kind of
Evil
flops.
and Dead
That was
Rising.
just capitalization on another zombies like installment. And then there's Dead Rising, Left 4 Dead, Call of Duty Zombies, and I can't really think of many bigger ones. There's like
Resident Evil.
God, I cannot think of words.
I don't know. It just seemed like over the past
Keep talking.
5 years, it's been there.
Yeah,
I didn't really see it before then. I guess
It's
maybe
been
it's
pretty
because
big. There was a short sprint of it, and it's going to remain a thematic element throughout games. I know that for sure. But there's either going to be a lot more innovation with it, like exploring the more human side of zombies. Like The Walking Dead is an obvious example of that. But what comes to mind in particular is the original trailer for Dead Island, which if anyone doesn't know is completely opposite of what the game is. It's basically Dead Island is a loot and shoot where you bash in zombie heads, and the trailer was like
Zombie Fallout
backwards and showed a family struggling to stay together as they're overrun by zombies, and then like it looked like it was going to be examining like the human side of zombies, which is really important, and it's one of the things that like should set zombie drama stuff like that apart, but it's almost never capitalized on. I see that as becoming like, especially with the success of Walking Dead, like more of a motif that we see. But other than that, there could also be different innovations to just the generic like fighting zombies thing, but it's not something that allows for a lot of variation. You can only have a certain amount of Left 4 Deads or something like that before you start to understand that they're just knockoffs.
Well, the reason I even thought of this beforehand was because Dead Island Riptide came out yesterday, and that's like, it's a game that's about zombies, obviously, but it seems like it came out of nowhere. It didn't have much marketing. Well, the first one also kind of came out of nowhere. It was a new IP, and it did like well. I looked it up, and it sold 4 million worldwide across like all the platforms, the PC, PS3, and Xbox. So it did well for a new IP. And this one just seems like it's the exact same thing. They didn't do anything different. I've played it for an hour or so, and it's the exact same thing, and I don't understand.
Sequelitis.
Yeah, that's all it is.
That's AAA budgets.
Yeah.
They want to stay safe and not risk their development monies.
Yeah, Train, you've played it, right? You got it?
Yeah, I started playing it a little bit, and
did you play the first one?
Yeah, I have the first one.
Oh,
so.
okay.
But I can't remember if they did it with the first one also, but one thing I've noticed they added that I really like is that if you're in a lobby, like let's say I'm level 60 and you're level 1, and you join my lobby, in the first one, the zombies would be leveled to me. So you'd be fighting level 60, 70 zombies, but you're level 1 with no skills. But in this one, you'll be fighting zombies level like scaled to your level, but in my screen, they'll be scaled to mine. So I'd be doing damage equal to yours, but from a higher base and everything. So it still makes the game fair for everyone, and therefore easier to play altogether.
I read that, and I was confused. I'm confused as to what that means. Like if
that's a bit odd.
If I'm like hitting a zombie and you're hitting the exact same zombie, you're doing like it's a different level to me, even though it's the same
damage
zombie.
sliders.
Yeah,
for both parties. But
like,
that's
for you, the health would be like 50, and you'd be doing like 2 or 3, and then for me, the level would be like 1,000, and I'd be doing like 20s, 30s, or like 100, something like that.
Oh,
that's confusing from a design perspective, because what does that say about their leveling system? Does anything change between level 1 and 60?
Well, yeah,
your damage and their health. So I'm assuming they did it so that people could just jump in with each other and wouldn't have to always
it's fair
play.
In that you do the same damage to the zombies across all screens, then that's a bit odd. But I guess that's the way difficulty curves usually go. I don't know.
Yeah, they did it so that people could play with each other even if they weren't at the same point.
Well, I know that.
Same way that like Skyrim, or not Skyrim, but the Elder Scrolls games are, like as you level, the enemies will get stronger with you, but at a point you become so strong that most enemies are just simple. But in Riptide, they added more forms of zombies. Like in the original Dead Island, they just had like 2 or 3, like the Thug, and then they were like just slightly bigger ones, and they just had more health. They could hit you harder. But in this one, there are a bunch of different kinds. Like there's I can't remember what it's called, but it's just like basically a boomer from Dead Island, but it just like walks really slow and explodes. And there's the floater.
Dead Island, that's another one.
Yeah, they'll pretend to
That's
be
what we're talking about.
dead, but
Oh no, sorry, I was thinking of Dead Rising.
Dead Rising, yeah, I said that. That one's...
Okay.
Oh my god, that game's weird.
It's quirky, and that's why it sells, because it's different from most of the other.
Don't think the
shooters.
second one did well.
Wait, what?
I don't
Dead
know.
Rising?
I heard it. did
Dead
pretty well.
Rising, yeah. What do you think about Dead Rising?
Dead Rising's pretty good, actually. It's a pretty dope game.
Oh yeah. What the heck? I searched Dead Rising on VG charts, and it lists all the Dead Rising games, but
VG charts?
VG charts. And the top game that came up was Gears of War.
Yeah.
Gears of War, then
They're
Dead
saying it
Rising,
doesn't
Dead
matter.
Rising 2. Oh yeah, so Dead Rising 1 sold... Oh, it was only on the Xbox.
Yeah, Dead Rising 1 was an Xbox exclusive.
and then it came to
Speaking-
Wii later.
Yeah, it's on the Wii. What the heck? It says the Wii has 0 sales.
No one bought it. Fucking no one.
But anyway, on the topic of zombie games and not necessarily shooters, but zombie games that innovate. Here's a shameless plug for this game called Lone Survivor, and it's supposedly, like, I haven't played it yet.
Did you
but I
just send a
played it
video
demo.
about that a
It's
few
terrifying.
days ago?
Well, yeah, I think I have. It's supposedly the most Silent Hill thing since Silent Hill 2. Like, even the newest installments in the Silent Hill series can't compare to it. And it's like the zombies the enemies, I should say, are never called zombies, and they're never identified as like walkers or anything like that. But they're like monsters basically, and it's implicit that they're zombies. So it kind of shows how it's just a reskinning, really. I mean, you could call them zombies, you could not call them zombies, and that doesn't really change anything. They're just the generic, like, cannon fodder enemies that walk towards you with no self-preservation instinct. So,
Alright.
I mean, it's not something that's going to go away because it's already been here. It's just not been called the same thing.
Yeah. Like viral apocalypse instead of a zombie apocalypse. 'Cause, like, that's what's going on with The Last of Us.
Last of
It's
Us.
it's a fungus.
Fungal.
Takes over.
See, that's another zombie game I'm excited for, because it focuses more on the human reaction to the crisis than the crisis itself.
There's one thing I
Like-
read about it, though, that I wish more people would do with it, is that it shows how the as the infection spreads, like it shows it in its beginning stage, like they just have like red eyes and pus like that, but you can see them almost fighting against the disease. It's just they don't want to attack you. Like they stumble a bit and try to hold themselves back, but then it just breaks through and they run at you. And that's those small things are what stand out to me as the gamer, and see like, wow, this is like intense stuff, because it always makes it bad for them and creates a connection in some way.
Yeah, that's great, because that wouldn't happen if, like, in a hypothetical zombie apocalypse, stitching any science here, is like no disease is just like a snap from one thing to another. You don't just like all of a sudden you're a zombie. Like, and that's the way it's usually portrayed as in lore and stuff like that. Like the generic zombie is one where you get sick, you breathe heavily for a while, and then you get up and start attacking.
I think your bird agrees with you.
Yeah,
Man,
I can
Shove
speak
that
bird.
in the
It's a cry of victory.
What, Michael?
It's in an entirely
So
different room
shove
of the
that
house. I have no control over him.
Alright.
See?
It's really bad.
We're at like 35 minutes. Do you think we should talk about something else, or do you think this is enough for the
I
first
feel
one?
like we haven't
how's
talked
everyone's
about
day?
You have anything else to say?
I don't know. Michael said he wants to talk about the new Xbox.
I'm down.
I heard it's being revealed on 21st of May.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
not really much to say because
I
we
know.
don't have any information.
I know.
Well, it's gonna have Connect 2.0. Everyone get excited.
Is anyone here getting it, or is everyone just gonna?
I'm waiting.
Talk
I'm
about
waiting to hear what they say about it, and then if it's bad, like if it's like always online, I already know Connect 2.0 is on it, so guess I have to deal with that. But, like if they don't announce anything that can really compete with like fucking PlayStation Plus, then I'm probably gonna get a PS4 instead.
Well, this
Yeah.
is what I've heard, and take this with a grain of salt, because, as far as GameStop goes, whatever. But I was talking to my, ex-manager now, but when I used to work at GameStop, my boss, and he went to their little GameStop meeting where the heads come down, all the developers come in and talk to everyone and tell stuff. And he basically said that the Xbox will play used games compared to what everyone's been saying. And it's like they won't do that because GameStop's profit is too big to them. And so,
well, yeah, because I heard the CEO of GameStop came out and said he supported the new Xbox, and when he said that, it was pretty obvious that they were going to run used games on them. Because I doubt he would support it otherwise.
But then there's also a thing I was reading that they're talking about how it'll use discs, but you won't actually play the discs. It'll have a huge hard drive, massive, and then you put the disc in, and then you download the game from the disc. And then once the disc just becomes useless in a way.
What's the point of having a disc in the first place?
To do it again, you have to recharge it, pay the credit to use the disc again. No way. So GameStop could still sell.
That's interesting.
Yeah, GameStop could still
as
sell
a business model.
It's just you'd have to pay a little, kind of like that online pass, except you'd have to do it for the entire game.
That's what the 360 kind of does right now. You can, once you have the game, you can install the game to the hard drive, and you still need the disc to play it.
Right? That'll increase performance stuff and everything.
Yeah, exactly. It runs better if it's installed to the hard drive. So I guess I don't know. I guess that's a cool idea, but
I don't get what the point of them going through all the trouble of making the discs. Then, I guess because
it's not that much trouble, really.
Because
game
they can't sell it again or something like that.
No, it's because people don't have internet.
That's the platform people are familiar with, and that it opens up. Yeah. If they excluded that,
it was a dumb thing to say. That's the reason there's still discs, is because not everyone has internet. I forget what else I was gonna say. There was something there was another thought I had, but I can't remember. That sucks.
So anyone playing anything fun right now?
I'm playing
one of those podcasts.
Right now.
Maybe a different episode. Do we have another topic we wanted to go
on?
Whoa. What the fuck was that?
Michael, what are you doing?
Skeleton keeps killing me every time.
Skeleton? Why are there skeletons in DSX?
I'm playing Terraria
Michael,
now.
focus. You haven't been talking and you're just playing a game.
So I beat the Ender Dragon in Minecraft.
I don't have as much to contribute to these topics. So.
Here at LudoLingo, we show commitment to our fans.
Oh, yeah, all those fans. Yeah.
No, I'm just
we
I don't
love
have as
literally
much,
every single one of you.
These weren't really my topics, so I don't have as much to contribute about these.
And make something up.
Yeah.
I was the one who brought up the Xbox one.
Yeah. So. See, I told you there wasn't much to talk about that.
Just say how excited
I thought more people were gonna get it. That's the thing. I thought people were a little more excited. I just didn't think people were just
you're bringing it up to the wrong group, though. That's the problem.
I get the feeling that they've got to have something big because they've let all the negative rumors stew for so long.
And the positive rumors of the PlayStation. And positive facts.
PlayStation has been glorified and the Xbox has been vilified on the internet. So unless they are just doing that intentionally to blow everyone away with their announcement and say all the rumors are false, Xbox is amazing. I can't see the Xbox doing well.
I think it's going to be that cable box service where you can get it cheaper if you get a subscription to where you get all these shows on it.
Yeah, but I don't think gamers don't care about that.
Exactly. Though. But if a kid, because everyone who buys Xbox is 15.
That's true. I got my Xbox when I was 13.
I just say if someone who wants an Xbox, they're like, hey, I'll buy the Xbox or I'll get my parents to buy the Xbox because I want to play the games, but my parents can now get rid of their cable box because they can watch HBO and AMC and Showtime and all this stuff right on it, as well as me playing games.
I'm not saying it's bad in general for marketing because obviously that's a good idea. They're just going for a different market.
Well, there's one other rumor I heard that they're making 2 different kinds of Xboxes for launch. One will be focused towards the games and everything, the way that the one is currently, but then there's also going to be one that's geared more towards the people who buy it to play one game for their kid or something like that, and then just use it to watch Netflix and all kinds of stuff, and it'll have lots of features that can connect to your TV or all kinds of extra crazy stuff that appeal more to the parents or just family members casually want to own one.
I don't like when there's multiple SKUs or whatever they're called. It's annoying.
SKUs?
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
It doesn't affect you. I don't really care.
I guess.
I'm not gonna buy like the smaller Xbox that only plays like Netflix and a couple games and something like that. If I'm gonna buy the Xbox, I'm gonna buy the one that lets me play games because that's all I care about. Because I'm a gamer.
Yeah, true that. True that.
Yes. All right. I guess is that it? We got nothing. Got nothing else right now. No.
Anyone catch the newest episode of My Little Pony?
Oh God.
I'm just kidding. The season's been over for like 2 months. Don't worry, guys.
You would know that. Oh
Okay,
man.
New topic.
I don't have anything else.
What?
I guess I feel something, but I don't know how long it would drag on. If you want to talk about it,
What would that be?
might talk about how exclusive games should be the main selling point for a console in a way, because look at the PS3 and Xbox. I mean, I'm not gonna try and bash either one or something like that, but right now, the only games that come to mind when I think of Xbox is Halo, Gears, and maybe Forza, and also I guess Viva Pinata. That's because my friend won't stop talking about it. But I mean, when PS3, there's like Killzone, Resistance, All Stars, Uncharted, God of War, Heavy Rain. You have all these huge titles, but no one seems to care about them. Even though, I mean, I know that games aren't going to appeal to everyone, but I mean,
Well, not no one. It's
just in
that
Halo.
the appeal of those exclusives have been fighting back like really hard against Xbox's dominance, and PS3 is just
It's just
overtaking
it's
Xbox.
spread out more.
I'm just saying, like, when people like go to a console, all they're going to think about. I mean, let's be frank. Most people buy an Xbox to play Call of Duty. I mean, I don't hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm buying an Xbox for the great library of games it has." I've never heard someone say that honestly, except for
Because it has,
except for
it's got a
someone-
ton of. It plays most of the major AAA games, and
I mean,
plus
yeah,
there's a lot of games. Sorry,
for
we
people
talked
who
about
follow
the same
Halo and Gears religiously, well, Gears was only on Xbox 360, I guess, but for people who like followed Halo 1 and 2, I know those guys bought an Xbox only for Halo 3, because that's the only reason why I bought a PS3 was for Ratchet and Clank. But, I mean, like, for someone who's new on the gaming market, who doesn't know a lot about games, but wants to play a lot of games, I mean, to someone who's going to, like, give them an Xbox over a PS3, it just kind of seems stupid, because there's plenty of more diversity in the exclusive for a PS3 than there is for Xbox, because your two main selling points for the Xbox are and I mean, one's third person, one's first person, but that's not a big difference. It's both about aliens and shooting and killing and stuff like that.
Well, to be fair, like you said that most people buy it to play Call of Duty, but it also plays like it's so easy to get wrapped up in exclusives, but it also plays most of the major like other AAA stuff.
I mean, I get that
That's
too.
also on
Sorry, one
PS3.
sec.
But that's why I bought an Xbox. So I also wanted to play the exclusive Xbox. But you know, I mean, I don't have a problem people buying.
Sorry, I
those
was interrupted.
games. It's just like if you're going to talk about, because I mean, multi-platform games should not even be in the equation when you're thinking of buying an Xbox or a PS3. I mean, unless there's a specific multi-platform game that you want that runs better on Xbox, you shouldn't even have those in the equation. You should be thinking about what exclusive games will you enjoy more. Will you enjoy Halo, Forza, Gears of War, or will you enjoy Uncharted, God of War, all that stuff? And those are the two things you should be thinking about immediately. I mean, other than price, but they're the exact same price now, so that's not even a deal anymore.
I mean, the
Before
biggest thing is just it's what your friends have, and that's like pretty much one
And
of the
Xbox had a
biggest
good
selling
save.
points. Like, hey, all my friends have. That's why like I switched from 360 to PS3 because all my friends at school, like Jesse included, everyone had a PS3, and I was like, okay, I'll get this instead because that's what all your friends have. If you're the only one in your group of friends who has something else and you can't play with them, then it's kind of like it's counterproductive. It's not as fun.
Before I was interrupted, I was going to mention the fact that since the architecture of the Xbox, especially compared to the PS3s, because don't get me started on the PS3, it's like it's really hard to code, and the separate like CPU and GPU. I don't know if I'm butchering this because I'm not a tech whiz or anything, but it's just tough. And so a lot of the games that are easy to develop for PC and Xbox don't come to the PS3, and so those aren't.
Well, you're dying. Your
Yeah,
connection's dying.
Oh man, I hate this. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
You're a little bit computery.
Those are while
No.
they're not technically exclusive. They're things that are to the Xbox's credit. Like Bastion is on the PC and the Xbox, but not the PS3 because it takes too much development resource for them to use and to port it in.
Yeah, I understand that because, like, for some games, developers just don't have the money to or the time to do that kind of process to change it over to PS3. But I mean, I remember reading an interview about the president of Epic, or whatever they're called, make Gears of War, and they're talking about how Gears of War could have been on the PS3. It's just because it was so difficult to develop or code for it, they didn't want to do it, and so they just left it behind. And so, I mean, I understand that, but that brings up a topic that I was talking about with my friend online on Facebook, was whose fault is it really at a point? Because, I mean, obviously it is possible, because, I mean, we get games like Uncharted, which blew people away, and it was for the PS3. It just depends on how much time you're willing to put into it, because a company like Epic isn't some little indie developer who doesn't make little stuff. I mean, they made Gears of War, and after they got that kind of money and time, they easily could have spent the time to port it over to PS3 to a point, because that's what happened with BioShock also. You know,
and Mass Effect.
And Mass Effect, yeah. I mean,
I feel nowadays, like, the argument of it's too hard to code for the PS3 is just irrelevant. Like, it
doesn't matter anymore.
Just because there's so many good games on the PS3 that like look and play so great that it's like, oh, we don't want to do it because it's too hard. It shouldn't really be an argument anymore. Obviously, when it came out, because Sony made their own technology with the cell processor in the PS3, and that's why it was so hard. Yeah, the Xbox was easier to code, so that's why more people jumped on that. Now it's just like it's so much. I guess kind of the same because people know how to use it now. That it shouldn't be anymore.
Not only has that expertise with experience coding the system grown, but also what should I say? Like, they have much more incentive now that the PS3 is a sure platform. Like, when it originally was released, it had a really shaky start, and so people are like, I'm not going to take my chances developing for that when it's just it might end in disaster. And so, like, I guess you're right in that it isn't as much of it shouldn't be a thing anymore, kind of like that. You should be able to sorry, I'm kind of running around in circles here. Yeah, it's fun. But
alright.
Yeah, I think I don't have anything to say on that.
I also realize the other problem is that Microsoft owns it now. Like, they have their like contract and all that. Like, they can't just like, oh, we're gonna go to PS3 now, so see ya. They can't just do that anymore. But I mean, at the point where the contract ends, you know, they should be doing that. Like, make an HD collection, or like there's a Gears of War collection to put over on PS3 or something like that, or PS4. I mean, I honestly don't care. Like I said, I have my Xbox. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to lose sleep if Gears of War never comes over to PS3. I'm just saying that it's just kind of silly at this point.
But if you're saying that, then you're also saying that all the PlayStation exclusives should go to the Xbox.
But that'll never happen because they're not contract. That's
because all the PS3 exclusives are like Sony.
Sony owns
the company
IP that their company makes, but Epic isn't owned by Microsoft. Epic makes like Unreal Engine, which they license all these people. They're not solely owned by Microsoft. It's just that one exclusive that they make is. That's
like why Fuse is coming on to Xbox now. Insomniac wasn't really owned by Sony. It's just they always chose to stick with Sony for the entire time. Even the PS3 at launch and everything like that. It just, Ratchet and Clank, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot. That's
I feel like when that game does not sell well, because I know like it's going to be. Not saying it's going to be a bad game. It'll probably be like a good game.
The only way it's going to sell well is advertising.
Yeah, and it won't be advertised, and no one on Xbox they don't really know Insomniac. Like, they don't know what kind of games they make. It's not going to sell well. I feel that since like when it doesn't sell well, they'll just go. I feel like they might just go right back to Sony and just start making games for them again.
I don't see why they would want to stick exclusive with Sony, because not only would the Xbox be easier to develop for, but it would just
not anymore now with the next.
Well, I wouldn't say it'd be easier now because they've spent years and years making games for PlayStation.
It's also next generation now.
Okay,
so.
I understand like being used to developing on the PlayStation, but it's just overall easier to develop on Xbox. And besides that,
next generation.
It doesn't matter. If you're a programmer, you know how to code on the Xbox. And so, like, no, I'm just wondering why you said that they stuck with them, because it's not a loyalty thing. I mean, the studio is going to be out to support themselves. I think it's more likely that they're licensed. I'm just not sure if they are.
It is a loyalty thing. Like, they started like they made Ratchet and Clank and Resistance all on PS3 and PS2, and they never went to any other platform, even though they were never owned by them. And I feel like it was a loyalty thing. Even with David Cage, the creative director at Quantic Dream, he's like said in interviews
they're not owned by Sony, and now Sony may not buy them just because he's like, we'll never go to another thing. Like, it's loyalty because he likes working with Sony.
Well,
And-
Yeah, that's what occurred to me when you were
how
talking.
that Microsoft has horrible contracts with their results. Microsoft is just like disgusting for these kind of things. That's why a lot of people who were owned by Xbox, like for things with BioShock and Mass Effect, that's why they didn't stay with them the whole time.
BioShock, sorry, you gonna continue? I was
No,
just
it's
gonna
just
say
like
that BioShock wasn't owned by Xbox. It was just too tough to code for the PS3 at the time, and they ported it over.
Oh, well,
Better example would be like Bungie in a way.
Yeah.
Now that they're done with like Halo 3 and Reach and shit, and they've handed over the torch to like 343i, and they've moved on to like cross-platform.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Kind of interested in that. A little bit.
Meh.
I don't know.
like
Don't know
a-
anything about it.
Of Dust 514, and I'm really excited because they make really good games. Like, Halo is my favorite game on 360.
Yeah.
Wait, what'd you say about Dust?
Oh god.
Sorry.
I said
Oh, I'm sorry. Did someone bring up Dust or Katawa Shoujo? Sam's here.
I just like the game. All right,
I said
it's a game,
Destiny
and
looks
it's gotten
like
a great.
better version of Dust. That's what
Well,
I'm
it's a
saying.
different kind of game. Dust is an online multiplayer shooter, and Destiny is going to be like a co-op shooter, like Borderlands.
Yes,
Go
it's
on.
going to be an online multiplayer shooter, just like Dust. Only there's going to be like more kind of missions instead of just capture the flag. But it's going to be the same kind of thing.
They never actually said it was going to be co-op. They said it was going to be more like an MMO shooter.
Are you absolutely sure about that? Because
So it's gonna be like Defiance.
yeah, it's like
What
a free roam
game
kind of
fans-
game.
It makes it look like Dust 514, so I'm saying it looks like a better version of Dust 514.
You can't just say that like any online like.
Oh god, not this
We're not getting
again.
into the same topic. You can't say that any online like futuristic shooter is like another shooter. That's like comparing everything to Halo. That's wrong. Halo's an arena shooter. It's got its own things. Like
Did you not hear what I said? I said it looks like a better version. That's what I
like
said.
graphically, aesthetically.
Yes, aesthetically, the shooter.
They're going for like a
everything's
different
like
aesthetic. I think.
It's in like in an in-space online shooter.
Yeah, Destiny looks great,
Oh boy.
and Dust looks like crap. I understand. Like it's gonna get texture updates, and it's not like the prettiest looking thing ever. But that's not the point.
Okay.
But Dust is still in beta, so
It's gonna be in beta for 10 years. That's how long they're gonna be adding stuff to it. That's what sets it apart from most games.
That's
no. It's supposed to be.
We should have a discussion about Dust sometime. It's a really
It was
interesting
supposed
game.
to come out like fully.
Yeah,
out of-
announced PS5.
Yeah, it's going to be quote unquote like released this
No,
what's
it's
it
supposed to
called
be-
summer, but it's already available to everyone, and you don't have to pay for it.
If it
so
doesn't
it's-
go to next gen, they're dumb.
it's going to next gen. They've already talked about developing on the
PS5,
PS4.
Xbox 1080.
I'm interested in knowing how they do that. They can't develop for Xbox either because Xbox refused to let them use their servers for the online integration with Eve. Yeah,
Wow. All right.
Dope.
That's cute.
we should definitely
Alright.
talk about that some other time.
Maybe
cool
we
game.
maybe
Sam,
we should.
remember what happened last time? You, me, and Jesse tried to talk about Dust.
Well, yeah, but you guys weren't being.
No.
Yeah.
We were being very opinionated. You didn't appreciate it.
You just get too offended when we say something about a game. That
I don't get mad. I just get irritated that like people are being illogical.
You talking
That-
shit? You see Conco's root and fucking Katawa Shoujo? You want to go, bitch?
just because we don't like a game.
Yeah, we're professionals.
We're irritated.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't the idea that he didn't like the game. It was the idea that it was a generic shooter. When there are like so many things about Dust that set it apart from all the rest of the shooters on the market.
Let's not do this. All right. I think
Let's do it in a different episode because
Yeah.
it's a great conversation to
Yes,
have.
yes, we can talk about generic shooters. We can talk about generic shooters. We can talk about casual
Xbox sucks.
stuff. We can talk about
Oh, Bert!
stuff.
Fuck the Xbox!
Okay.
You get playing it right now, you fun.
I feel
PlayStation
Who sucks?
sucks.
doesn't do huge amounts. Like, yes, it integrates
No.
with you, but it's not.
Let's not do this.
And
Yeah,
insanely
let's do this a different time because it'll end up hijacking. But there's a lot to talk about. I'd really
Yes,
love
there
to do
is.
it a different
We
time.
can do that. So everybody listening, whoever you are, if you've listened to this whole thing, you
All
can
6 of you.
you can listen to or you can leave feedback in the comment section of the YouTube video if that's where you're getting this. If you're getting it from somewhere else that I uploaded it, maybe on iTunes, I'm going to figure out how to do that. Then you can go to the YouTube video and leave some concerns
or just send a PM
or topics.
Especially, we're looking for topics to discuss in future episodes. So if you want us to talk about something, like a broad topic, like what we discussed earlier, not just a game or something like that, or maybe a question, then you can submit it too.
Yeah.
You can leave questions for specific members of the podcast if that's what you really want.
Yeah. We'll probably get into that when we get more people following us.
Here's Sam talk all day, episode 2.
Nope.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty good for our first episode. We got almost an hour here.
Wrap.
Yeah, that was fun. So yeah, leave comments if you want, and stay tuned for the next one, which we're trying to work out what we're doing with scheduling and stuff, and different topics. So I don't exactly know when the next one will be, but hopefully not too long. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you want to on YouTube to stay tuned for that. So that's it. We're done. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Did you just call me an asshole?
Yeah,
Just call me Apple? Fuck you guys.
Call me an apple.
Oh, okay. Goodbye.